Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.
What's up, guys? I'm here with a quick video today. It is 2:15 Pacific time on March 11th, and we just got some huge news 15 minutes ago. Deshaun Watson, as I expected earlier this week in an article I wrote, was formally cleared of all charges regarding his criminal investigation. And you know what that means? That means that he is currently on the market for quarterbacks. So I'm here and I'm going to break it down on what it means, not only for Deshaun Watson, but for Jimmy Garoppolo. But before I start, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. You know, we growing every day, and thank you guys so much for the support. I've been enjoying putting content out consistently for the last couple of weeks, and I love this. So let's get right into it. Deshaun Watson, he's cleared of all charges. So what does that mean? Well, currently, Deshaun Watson is going to have his 4-year, $160 million extension kick in this season. He's going to make $35 million this year. He was on his 5th-year option last year. He's going to make $35 million this year. So there was legitimately zero possibility that the Houston Texans are going to carry him on to their roster and put him like they did last season, where since he didn't play, they're not going to pay him that $35 million just to sit on the bench. So Deshaun Watson is going to be moved, and it just depends on where and what now. Because when we look at it, Deshaun Watson currently, guess what? He's got a no trade clause, and that's important because Deshaun Watson, of course, now can choose where he goes, similar to other players in certain situations. We know Jimmy Garoppolo has a trade clause that expires on March 16th, although I expect him to be gone by then. But Deshaun Watson, he's got a no trade clause, so he has a say to where he's going. But let's talk about potential Deshaun Watson destinations. When we look at it, there are 4, in my opinion, that pop out. And those are all 4 NFC teams. We've got the the Philadelphia Eagles, we have the Carolina Panthers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to break down the fit real quick for each of them. When we look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first of all, guess what? They just moved on from Tom Brady. They have a really strong offensive core and defensive core. They've had a propensity for bringing back their players. They brought back all 22 starters last offseason, and they could look to do something similar. In a trade for Deshaun Watson, they could give up a package of picks, but they could also give up a receiver like Chris Godwin, who quarterback Davis Mills could definitely benefit from alongside Brandon Cooks in Houston, because guess what? Chris Godwin just got franchise tagged. He before they make a new deal regarding Chris Godwin, he could be moved because they already have Mike Evans, and they could look to draft another speedster in the draft. But looking at it, yeah, a couple of picks, Chris Godwin, and guess what? You go into a very solid situation in Tampa Bay, Florida. I forget the tax. It's one of the taxes. I think it's property tax. No property tax. So it's a solid destination. They just made the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and you know Tom Brady, you succeed after Tom Brady. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that really and kind of fulfill that opportunity and take Tampa Bay to new heights? Now, looking at it, the other teams, Carolina Panthers, they have the most draft capital alongside the Seattle Seahawks, where they have a first-round pick this year. They have young prospects at the cornerback position, which the Texans may like. They got guys like J.C. Horn. They've got guys like C.J. Henderson. So they've got a good amount of players. They have a young roster. They could trade one of their receivers like DJ Moore or Terrace Marshall as well in a package for Deshaun Watson. And they've been very inclined. They've been very intrigued by Deshaun Watson for like the past 2 years, even before the criminal cases started happening. So he's definitely an option for the Carolina Panthers. But looking at it, the other teams on the market, right? We've got the Seattle Seahawks, which the 49ers should definitely not want. The Seattle Seahawks, right, they just got an extreme amount of compensation in return for Russell Wilson, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a 5th-round pick, and 3 players. So looking at it, the Seahawks could send a boatload of draft compensation out to the Houston Texans, including their first-round pick next year alongside Denver's this year, which could be the most enticing package. But then we've got the Philadelphia Eagles, who have 3 first-round picks this year. And if Houston really likes this draft, especially in the teens, guess what? That's what Houston might want, and they might pull the trigger on that. But remember, Deshaun Watson chooses where he wants to go. But let's get into how this affects Jimmy Garoppolo, because obviously the 49ers have been looking to move him, and he still hasn't been moved, despite the likes of Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Carson Wentz all being moved. Do we expect Deshaun Watson to be traded first or Jimmy Garoppolo? And in my opinion, I don't think the Jimmy Garoppolo market is really affected by the Deshaun Watson news. Sure, would the new Watson domino fall first just because we want to see what teams really might be bargaining for Jimmy Garoppolo after they miss out on Deshaun Watson? 100%. But looking at it, I think the current two teams really interested in Garoppolo, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. And both of those teams are AFC teams, similar to the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are probably more inclined to send him out of the conference so they don't have to face him, and so they don't have to deal with that guy on a regular schedule. You know what I mean? So that's why I think that they might move him towards the NFC, similar to how Russell Wilson got moved to the Denver Broncos rather than the Washington Commanders to get him out of the conference. So looking at it, yeah, I think that that's certainly a possibility, that Jimmy Garoppolo's trade market really doesn't fluctuate as much because those two teams, they aren't really inclined probably for a Deshaun Watson trade. Indianapolis is high in character. They're not going to be as enticed because you've seen guys like Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard, the GM for the Colts. They just moved on from Carson Wentz after a year because of character concerns and things like that alongside the play. So Deshaun Watson, they might be a little worrisome about the character. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I just don't think they have enough compensation to compete with the other teams in this that are interested in Deshaun Watson, especially the Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks. So that's where I stand on that. Jimmy Garoppolo, though, the thing with the 49ers is they've looked and they've definitely wanted to get the most amount of value possible. So if Deshaun Watson trade happens, guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo, we might wait for Jimmy Garoppolo's trade to happen after that, because if a team like the Carolina Panthers fails to acquire Deshaun Watson, guess what? They might now be in the Jimmy Garoppolo sweepstakes, because head coach Matt Rule is now going into the third year of that 7-year, $70 million contract that he signed, and he hasn't produced in his first 2 years. He's whiffed on Sam Darnold. He signed Cam Newton, which turned out to be a blunder as well. You know, he hasn't had success at the quarterback position over his first 2 years, stemming from Teddy Bridgewater to this past season, where he kept rotating quarterbacks, and he even had XFL quarterback PJ Walker in there for a little bit, who they used to play together at Temple. So he needs stability at the quarterback position, which is why he could also be looking to get Jimmy Garoppolo should they fail on Deshaun Watson. So how does it affect Jimmy Garoppolo's market? Short and simple answer, it doesn't affect the teams, but it does affect the timeline, because we expect a Watson trade to happen first, just to up the price of Garoppolo's trade. Because guess what? Watson is probably going to command a lot. He's going to command more than Wilson, and that is just going to increase the amount of suitors in Garoppolo's market, unless it's a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who really shouldn't be intrigued by Garoppolo. But thanks for tuning in for sure. I'll be back with more content. Just wanted to get this quick one out. Be updated probably in 30 minutes. I'm probably going to go live again and talk about Chandler Jones. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the podcast, 49ers Red Zone Pod. We are going live tonight at 6:30 p.m. Me and Marco, we're going to be talking a lot of NFL news alongside 49ers implications. But I'll catch you later. See you guys.